So about every 2 to 5,000 rounds, somewhere in there, it's not like a set number, but right around there, I will take the gun all the way down to the grip and frame. Just strip everything. I'll take the slide completely apart, take the barrel, guide rod, recoil spring, firing pin spring, extractor, all of that completely off, including the optic. And then for the frame and grip, I'll take everything down, but I'll leave the grip attached to the frame. So like magwell off, and honestly the magwell, thumb safeties, and trigger parts. I'll leave the trigger in, but the sear disconnector, I'll take that out. And then I'll take everything and wash it in some warm water and soap. If you get the water too hot, it can cause two things. One, discoloration of your coating, and two, it can actually cause the coating to rust. We figured that out on my gun. I basically had my gun in boiling hot water to clean it, and when I got finished with it, it was actually slightly discolored. Did not like that, so we got it recoated, and we're not doing that again. So make sure you don't use like super hot water, but make sure it is warm because you want to get all that grease and oil off of there. I will put it in a pan, carry it to a sink, and wash it in warm water with a toothbrush. Clean every surface that I can reach with the toothbrush. If there's a surface I can't reach with the toothbrush, I use Q-tips and acetone. And I'm going to show you guys all the details on that right now. We're going to get into that, show you guys what I clean with the Q-tips. The toothbrush cleaning is pretty simple, straightforward. Just every surface you can reach with the toothbrush, I scrub it, rinse it off really good, dry it as soon as possible. I use an air truck and blow everything off. You can use a towel to kind of pat things down. As soon as you're done washing it and you got that gun cleaned, get oil on it as soon as possible. You don't want any kind of surface rust or anything building up on top of that coating. Alright, let's get into it. I'm going to show you guys the detail work on what I clean and how I clean it right here. Alright, so here I've got my acetone in this little cap here. Got my Q-tips here and my brand new slide. I'm not going to get a whole lot of dirt off of this. Might get a little bit of oil. But that's about it. Unfortunately, I already cleaned my gun for Nationals, and I don't want to disassemble it and clean it again because it's running really good right now. Got the trigger exactly how I want it. So we're just going to have to show you guys what I do with the brand new slide here. So there's a lot of places here that a toothbrush cannot get. A couple of those places are, I'm going to try to get this as clear on the video as I can, but inside these tracks, right in here and right in here, the trigger or the toothbrush has a hard time getting in there. So I make sure I get cleaned out in there really good with a Q-tip. The other place is the upper lugs right here. Inside the slide and the radial lugs, the toothbrush can clean it out, but a lot of times it has a hard time getting in those corners and getting out the powder residue and stuff like that. So make sure you guys get in there and get that cleaned out as good as possible with the Q-tip. And then you can get a really small bladed knife like this and just get in there and get those corners cleaned out really good that way as well. This isn't necessary like with the knife. The Q-tip normally does it, but every once in a while you'll get some stuff caked in there if you haven't cleaned it and oiled it in a long time. Next, we're going to do the extractor hole. This one here, I just run a Q-tip into that extractor hole, just move it back and forth pretty good, and we'll pull it all the way through like that. And then, after I run it through and clean it a couple times, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the fuzz on this Q-tip, expand it, and make it a little bit bigger, like that. You can see there how much bigger it is now compared to that one. And what it does is just makes it a little bit tighter and easier to clean this thing out. So now it's a little bit tighter. We can actually kind of feel some resistance there. And now we're just going to give it a really good scrub. And what you can do is you can sit there and re-fluff that Q-tip. Give it some more acetone and just do that a couple times. And what you're focusing on is you want to focus up towards the breech face, because when that extractor is in there and every time that gun goes bang, you've got residue going into this extractor hole because it's not airtight. And you get a bunch of buildup right here on the slide, up here in the front. Right up here, you get a bunch of buildup up here, and then your extractor tension does not stay the same. It changes because you have all that residue, powder residue, and carbon and all that buildup right up in here, and you lose extractor tension, and then you just lose reliability on your gun. So you want to make sure you get that cleaned up really good. You can see my Q-tip poking out there. Just make sure you get that scrubbed really good there. And then like I said, you want to get this area here. And then right down in here. Get that really good. Radial lugs here. And here. And that is basically it. Oh, the other thing you can do is the firing pin hole. Run that Q-tip down inside here too. You may need to change Q-tips quite a bit because your gun is probably going to be pretty dirty after a couple thousand rounds. So you want to make sure you clean your change Q-tips as you clean those holes out there. Alright guys, one other thing I forgot to mention is to polish the slides. A couple things that you can do to polish the slide just to kind of give it a little bit smoother feel is to get some 220 sandpaper. I prefer some worn out 220, but we just cleaned out all of our sandpaper and I've got stuff here that's slightly used, but this will work. So I got just a stone here. You can use a file or some sort of a block or anything. Just wrap that in that sandpaper. And then I'm going to polish the disconnector track right here. And what you're doing is just giving it a good polish. About like that. So we got a good polish there. The other thing you can polish is the breech face. Doesn't take a whole lot, just a little bit of sanding here and there. Next up, we've got the barrel. The barrel doesn't need a whole lot of cleaning. Usually if you just clean the lugs right here with the toothbrush, you're normally fine. Every once in a while you'll have to take a Q-tip and get in those tight corners right there, just like we did on the upper lugs on the slide. But other than that, you don't really have to clean it. Just wipe it down, wash it with the toothbrush, and you're normally good to go. Now for polishing, I will polish the hood right here with the block and some sandpaper, and then I'll also polish the feed ramp. If you have a Dremel tool, you can use that. If you don't, you can use like the back end of a punch here and wrap that in sandpaper and just polish that feed ramp real good. But I happen to have a Dremel tool here, polishing tool right here. So I'm going to throw this on the Dremel and just polish that up real good. And then I'm going to polish the hood right here with some sandpaper. And that'll be it for the barrel. Alright, I don't know if you guys can see that, but just polish up the hood here and the feed ramp. And it's looking pretty good. Next up is the frame. And there's honestly not a whole lot here that you can do with the Q-tip or polishing wise. But the toothbrush should have covered basically everything on that. You can reach inside here, in this area right in here with the Q-tip, and clean that out if you want. Scrub the rails with a toothbrush and some soap and water and you should be fine. Other than that, there's not a whole lot more that you can clean on the frame or polish on the frame. So we're done with that. Next up is the grip. Grip is pretty simple. Scrub it, get all the places with the toothbrush. You shouldn't need a Q-tip to clean this, but if you want, you can run a Q-tip into the mag catch area holes right here, and then also the trigger bow track right here and here. You can clean this out with a Q-tip or a toothbrush. Now for this area here, I do polish that with a really small file. And when I say small, I mean small. Just a really small file fits right in there, and I'll get a really small strip of 220 sandpaper and just go in there and polish that trigger track area, make that trigger feel really good and smooth. And that is done for the grip, and that's basically all we have to do for cleaning and polishing. Obviously I'll retouch up the hammer sear disconnector, make sure these are polished and good to go. Also the sear spring, I'll polish the sear spring and make sure that's good to go. But other than that, I'm not really polishing anything else, and that's basically it. Alright, we're going to put this gun together, and then when I get it put together, I'm going to show you guys where I oil everything. Alright guys, we got the gun basically ready to put together now. All the sub-assembly is done. I'm going to be putting this gun together and speeding it up when it doesn't really matter, when I'm not talking. and then I'll slow it back down whenever I'm showing you guys or talking to you guys about something specific. So first of all, I'm just going to do finish up the sub-assembly real quick. So mainspring housing real quick, we're going to just drop some oil down inside here. I like to put a decent amount in here because this gets a lot of action. Every time that hammer comes down, that spring's getting movement, so we want to make sure it gets a decent amount of oil in there. After that's done, we're going to do the mag catch. Drop that in there. Also put a decent amount of oil in here. You want this to feel really good and smooth. Basically every spring on this gun is getting oil. Just to make it a little simple for you guys, so you guys can kind of understand. Alright, mag catch is in. Catching on something there, but I think that'll wear out. Once we eat that, already feels better. Okay, now we get to put this thing together. Trigger's moving, sticking on something. There we go. Never mind. Feeling good now. Alright, let's get the trigger parts in this gun. Show you guys what we're doing there, how we do it. So we have the sear and the disconnector right here. The sear sits right on the disconnector just like this. You can see it there. Stick this up into the hole right here on the frame. We want the disconnector sticking up through the top of the frame right there. And then we're going to line that up as best we can. And then use a punch to line up that hole there. Get your sear pin. Drop it in there. Alright. Now for the hammer, we add a little bit of black gear grease to that. So we add a little bit of grease here. Just take your punch, put a little bit on it, and then add it to the hammer hooks right here underneath. So right there on the, here's the hammer there. We're adding it right here to the bottom of the hammer hooks right there. Just a little bit each. Right here we're going to drop some oil where the sear spring engages the sear and the back of the disconnector. Drop some oil there before we put the beaver tail on. I like to drop a little bit of oil in here where the thumb safeties go together inside the beaver tail, just to make things easier for taking it apart if we need to. Also, plunger tube goes in here. We also oil up the plunger tube spring. There we go. And I like to put a little bit of oil right here on the face of the thumb safety where the plunger actually engages it. Just make it a little bit more smooth. Alright, feels pretty good. It's going to need a trigger job still, but you guys can kind of get the idea as to what we're doing here. Alright, now we're going to assemble the slide, put everything in here, drop some oil on the extractor just to, like right here in the spots where it engages in the slide there. Nothing super crazy, just a little bit here and there. So now you just put that in there, and then right when the back of the extractor starts to hit the back of the slide there, all you're going to do is bend the extractor, put some pressure on it this way, and then push it down into that slot. Pretty simple. Once you get it started, you can just push it in there with your thumb. Now we're going to line that up with the punch. We're going to put some oil on the firing pin spring. Push that in with the punch, and then you just push that up until it clicks in. And that part is done. Now for the barrel, we're going to drop some oil in here in these radial lugs up here. In every single groove here, just spread some oil in there. Go ahead and decompress that. Alright, next we're going to drop some oil on the slide rails. Right there. Right here. On the top right here as well. Also going to put some oil right here on the guide rod and the recoil spring. Decent amount there, that gets a lot of action. While this is off, I like to put a little bit of oil right here on the lower lugs especially for the break-in process, just to make sure those lugs wear in good with the slide stop. Alright, gun is together. Now, we're going to oil the front of the barrel here. There's 2 points of lockup right here and right here. And then there's 2 more points of lockup on the bottom of the barrel at the very front. We just want to oil up those spots. Make sure the guide rod has oil. And then right here at the top of the disconnector, when the slide is locked open, you can see the disconnector right there. We put some oil right there on the top of that disconnector. Make sure it's oiled up good. Drop the slide, and then right here on the top of the hood, this already has plenty of oil in it from oiling up the lugs, but we just want to make sure. And then, sorry, forgot one more spot. On the breech face right here where the hood engages, I'm going to make sure we have some oil on that. This gun is locking up pretty tight, which is good, but it might be too tight. We might have to massage the lower lug just to make sure it locks up a little bit better, a little bit softer, but we'll see. We'll shoot it and see how it breaks in. But anyways, that is how you oil up a gun and clean it. I didn't show you guys exactly the cleaning process on everything, but you guys got the hint with the whole toothbrush and Q-tip thing. Anyways, trigger's actually really close to being done. I just don't like the pre-travel. Pre-travel is a little bit too light. So we're going to add like 3 or 4 ounces to that. And then it'll probably be right around 2.5 pounds already. So. Alright guys, now that you know how to clean, reassemble, and oil your firearm, we're going to take this thing and have a little bit of fun with it. Make sure everything's running good. And maybe get some close-up, slow-mo shots of this gun for you guys. Using the Scorpion 9mm practice ammo. I'll show you guys a box of it here. This is what it looks like. It's called, they call it training rounds. Super cheap. There goes my lights. Woo! Super cheap ammo. It's $13, I think, for a box of 50. I've never had a malfunction with it yet, and it runs flawless in my guns. It's cheap, it's accurate, and it's worth the money. Go check it out. Use code MCG10 for a discount. Check it out. Really good ammo. And I'm not giving you guys that code, and I'm not telling you guys this ammo is good because I'm sponsored. I was using this ammo for a long time before I was officially sponsored. Never had any malfunctions with it. I am at over, I think, 15,000 rounds with this ammo without a single malfunction. So make sure you guys go check it out and use it. It's worth it. I promise you will not regret it. Alright, let's have some fun with this baby. I mean, she's beautiful. Let's run it hard, see how she goes. Let's try it weak hand. Make sure she's functioning weak hand. Alright, try it strong hand.